Thank you for listening to the Radio Maria podcast on the world family of Radio Maria stations.
Thank you so much for listening to the Radio Maria podcasts. It's thanks to listeners like you who donate that enable us to continue delivering quality content to listeners around the world. If you'd like to contribute and help us keep spreading the message of Our Lady's Son, please consider making a donation. You can reach us at 888-408-0201 or simply visit our donations tab on our website at radiomaria.us. Your generosity truly makes a difference.
Welcome all Radio Maria listeners to this brand new edition of Faith and Sport. And now, without further ado, here he is, the host of Faith and Sport, Dr. John Acquaviva.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show, wherever, whenever, however you're listening. I'm Dr. John Acquaviva. Thank you for joining us today. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk today's sports topics, including our hit and miss, and we're going to do stat of the day, all with Ed Billick. He's a longtime friend of mine, and he's been a part of this show ever since I went on the air years ago. He's going to join us here in just a couple seconds. And our special guest, again, like last time, is Carlos Herrera, certified soccer coach, longtime guest on the show, longtime great friend of mine, and soccer insider. And because the World Cup ended just this past weekend, I'm going to bring him back to talk about World Cup. And in particular, boy, I can't wait to talk about the aggressive and what some people would call the dirty play of Argentina. And that's why by halftime, I was rooting for Spain. We'll talk more about that. Ed Billick, welcome to the show, buddy. How you doing today?
I am doing well, John, and this last, I think it was last Sunday's gospel about the wheat and weeds.
Yes, it was this past Sunday.
If you don't cut out your weedful ways, you need to go outside in bare feet and stand on your driveway for an hour, and you'll feel what the eternity is going to be like if you don't get rid of your weedful ways.
It's so funny. We go to the pool with our kids, at the local YMCA, and they always say, don't run. But Ed, once you take off your shoes and you head to the pool, you have to run. It's unbelievable, the temperature. And I know everybody listening to the show knows what I'm talking about.
I know. I tried to try a Sunday's gospel into heaven and hell, but so we all have weeds and we all have wheat. So there you go.
There you go, brother. Listen, I want to thank you for once again making time for the show. One of the things that you and I always do, we start the show off by doing a hit or miss, something positive or negative, good or bad in the world of sport. As always, you go first. What's your hit or miss, brother?
Well, it wasn't really one thing, and I could talk the soccer World Cup, and I'm sure you and Carlos will do it, but wonderful, wonderful ways of bringing people together, people from different cultures, backgrounds, all for their home teams, all so passionate. I mean, you guys can expand on that, but this one, the U.S. men's national soccer team continues to be a public witness. I think, John, they drew attention, gathered in prayer.
Yep.
After their World Cup matches.
I saw that.
The team chaplains and players spoke about the Bible studies they have all become a regular part of their team life. And it's just wonderful to see that. And I'm sure that's with a lot of other teams. Yeah, U.S. got a little, credit for it, but more and more players, we've said this, John, on this show, more and more players are speaking out about their faith.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the strengths of the world of sport. And it's such a good role model for the younger athletes. So many young athletes, high schoolers, middle schoolers, grade schools, they're kind of ashamed of their faith. They don't really see the connection between the two. And we don't have to bring our faith into sport. We should certainly bring in character, ethics, and morality into sport because that's what makes sports better. That's really the precipitous of this show. This is really what kind of governs the direction of the show and the reason for us to do this. But it is a bonus when people talk about their faith. They talk about a Bible verse that's important to them because, as I've said before, and I'll keep saying it, when you're rich, when you're famous, when you're really good at what you do, it's easy to take a step back and just live in the limelight of your skills. But they go a step further and they talk about, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Lord. The talent I've been given is God-given. And then they just go down that direction. And if nothing else, they just have gratitude for the fact that they can play a sport, for a lot of money and make a living off of it and bring God to people all at the same time. I think it's terrific.
Yeah, and for majority of us, John, especially our listeners, you now view them through a different lens. You
That's right.
view the Jordan Spieths, you viewed the Vin Scullys and Mike Piazzas and all those kind of people that we know that are faithful Catholics and Christians. You view them in a different manner, and I know I do.
Oh yeah. You become a fan of them. You kind of root for them wherever they are in their stage of life. You hope that they succeed, and of course they may not even, they may not even say that's what I don't want any more success. I just want to glorify God in my years after being in sport, and I want to bring others to God.
Yeah.
And you have to give them tons of credit for that.
And tons of credit go to all your guests over the years.
Yes.
Because I bet you they're numbering in 100, 200 guests that you've had on this show that do just that. I go back to Joe DeLamalure. I go back to Olympians you've had. Just incredible. So, hats off to you. But that's my hit. I
love it.
I couldn't think of one specific, but boy, it sure feels good. You guys will talk the soccer thing, but it sure feels good to see that.
I'm going to kind of rain on the kind of the glory of the World Cup a little bit with my miss here just in a second. But I want to keep on that point for a second. One of the things that you can't help but notice, especially if the team is of Hispanic origin, like Argentina and Spain in this weekend's final and so forth, you can't help but notice when a lot of them go onto the field, either in the beginning of the game or if they're a substitute and they go onto the field, that they do the sign of the cross and they look up. And sometimes even after they score a goal, they'll look up, they'll do the sign of the cross. And we can only kind of imagine what they're thinking, what they're saying to God, but it is positive, and it's probably nothing more than, Lord, thank you for all that you've given me, and I want to glorify you through the sport, and that goal I just scored is for you, and so forth. And that is an extension of what you're saying. It's more public than ever.
Yeah, and the family background, the family values are also on display there. And a lot of the Hispanic culture, family, like the Italian culture, is extremely important.
No, it is, no doubt. So let's stay on the World Cup. We're going to talk a lot of soccer here today, folks. So kind of buckle yourself in. We did a couple weeks ago. We're going to do it again. It just ended this past weekend. So bear with it, but we're going to hope that it's compelling conversation as always. But mine had to do with the fact that I saw more, probably 5 times more than I've ever watched in a 5-week period of time. I watched far more than I did the previous World Cups. And somebody asked me, they go, why is that, do you think? And I go, well, I know the reason. First of all, the games and their times were friendly to the American viewer. They were no earlier than 11 o'clock in the morning. And they started, I think one game started at 10 o'clock. The rest started in that window. It allowed you to watch it in its entirety. I have time off for the most part during this time as a college professor. So I watched more because of that. And also, it helped that the United States was good. They had a chance to go to the Final 8. They were in the round of 16. It was overall a successful venture for them. But on the flip side of that, having watched so much, I struggled with the hypocrisy of the sport and the hypocrisy of the individual players. The ones that cried the most when they got fouled and they went to the ground and they're screaming in pain. Oh, my neck, my shoulder, my shin, my knee, my ankle, whatever it was, were the same people that cried to the referee when they got a foul called on them. Did you see this happened numerous times, Ed? There was one time a player for Spain was going down the field near midfield, and the Argentinian player grabbed him around the shoulder and almost had him in a headlock for about 4 or 5 steps because he did not want this player to get away from him. The player from Spain was faster. I think he was stronger and was eventually going to get away from him and maybe have a shot on goal in the next 10 seconds. And the Argentinian player almost put him in a headlock and pulled him back. And with his other arm was grabbing his jersey. And when the referee, Ed, blew the whistle for a foul, he looked as as though the greatest wrong had ever been done to him. I don't understand. And one of the reasons I bring up hypocrisy, I know it's a strong word, Ed. Jesus Christ in Scripture only resented one type of person. Who was that? The hypocrite. He couldn't stand. That was the only people he called out in culture. They do it in The Chosen. They show that a great deal. And of course, it's just reflecting what's in Scripture. Jesus did not like for people to be pious, right? Wear certain gowns, wear certain rings on their fingers, be a certain way in culture, and then speak out against the Lord or do something that was directly in the face of the teaching of the Lord. And he didn't like it. And I tell you what, I didn't like it either. That was hard to put up with for all those games.
Totally agree with you. And you start to become a student. And I was doing sports for a local radio station here in Sheriff. So I ended up watching the second half of the semifinals. And I just watched it. I didn't have to, but I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, you were engaged in it. Which semifinal?
Well, it was the Argentina and England, right?
England, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the France-Spain. The thing to your point is I don't know the game well enough to know what is a foul and not.
Yeah,
so you're doing a disservice to the new fans, or to the fans who are trying to look. Well, that wasn't a foul, but that's a foul. And then the other point of MMA, studio wrestling, it becomes a clown show with all the flopping and hollering and screaming. And to your example, so you lose. I think you even say you lose some of the seriousness. It becomes a circus,
right? Yeah,
and it takes away from the beauty. Now, when I watched Lionel Messi mess with that ball and kick that ball around, I thought I was watching Sid the Kid Crosby out there.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Skills with his legs. So you have all that on display, which is just glorious from a world of sport. And then you got like the example you had where, grabbing onto somebody. Well, of course that's a foul, I would think. But, and then it's not a foul. It becomes very theatrical.
Did you probably, like most people, and even like me, did you learn about the sport as you went along? Because you probably watched more soccer than you ever have, right?
Oh, sure. And, it's out of bounds. How do I know who's out of bounds? Is it like basketball? And then our church group, our Cursillo group, which a lot of you listeners may know what Cursillo is, we had a whole kind of 20 minutes on what's the rules of soccer. So immediately they fly the flag or show the flag. Okay, red out, blue out. So you get to know some of that, which I did not know. What's offsides? I kept trying to figure that out. So there's a lot of those little pieces. But I know you and Carlos, and he's going to have some great.
Oh, yeah, he's going to have some great insight.
Argentina, how many shots on goal did they get yesterday?
None. And they only had one shot that was on target, and of course got blocked. So
Spain, Argentina, hey, can I have the ball? Can I play?
Yeah, please.
Because Spain was just playing with themselves, and Argentina was like, the Harlem Globetrotters versus Washington Generals.
That's right. Yeah. The commentator could have said that, because at one point it did seem like the Harlem Globetrotters against what were they called? The Washington
Generals.
That's right. Good memory, Ed. Folks, listen, you're listening to Faith in Sport. This is Radio Maria. It's a co-production of WCAT Radio, Faith in Sport radio show where we look at sport through a Catholic lens. Thank you for joining us today. My guest is Ed Billick, as he is just about every time we do a show for the first half hour. We're talking about the World Cup and other stuff going on in the world of sport. Ed, I'm going to shoot some questions at you. And this has a great deal to do with just the current climate of sport just this summer. So let me shoot the questions at you. So let's stay on the World Cup for the first question. As a result of this World Cup, do you like soccer more than ever, the same as ever, or you can't stand the flopping, so I like it worse than ever? What would your answer be? Do you like it better than ever?
I'd say the same as ever, which is like, I could list all the sports. The fly fishing, maybe, cornhole, I don't know.
No, that's not true. That's not true. You wouldn't watch fly fishing for 45 minutes, would you?
I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch some of the Charlotte FC.
Yeah, and you'll appreciate it more. That's right.
To appreciate and to see if the flopping and theatrics are there.
Very good. Okay, the WNBA, brother. Do you like the press, good or bad, for the WNBA? Right there, it's almost all of it's negative that the WNBA is getting. Do you You think it's not good for the sport, all the press that they're getting, or you don't care what's going on? Where do you feel?
I think because of Caitlin Clark and, we got family members that truly love the WNBA because of her and because of what she's done to that league.
Yeah.
They got a PR problem. They got a huge public relations problem.
They do.
They can't own up to it. I mean, some folks, our listeners know Dan Patrick. He invited the commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, to come in. Come on. He was going to ask her some tough questions.
Dan Patrick, former ESPN host. He has his own podcast now. Yeah.
He has his own radio show. And sure, ask the tough questions. Adam Silver would come on, but you don't decline the interview 2 hours before and say there's a PR department doesn't want me to get on. So who's controlling that league? Because that league is on a stepping stone to emerge or starting to pay their players more. But they got some deep problems they need to shed from an image standpoint, and it's really hurting them.
Is the image problem that they have, does it have to do with the fouling of certain players, that the fact that they don't seem to address that, the fact that there seems to be some resentment and envy that some players get more name, image, and likeness money than others? How far can you go down that road without getting too controversial?
You named it all. Those are the 3 or 4 things that has an image problem. There's this rough, tough mentality, but selected few get to be. It is not where the NBA is today, and NBA has their flaws as well. But this whole kind of racial tension, sexual tension, and guess who feeds off that? The media.
That's right. They love it.
So they love it. So it gets more clicks, but it's not helping the league at all.
You mentioned this in the pre show talk discussion that we had, and I had heard it from others that one of the issues is that so many, at least it's theorized. I don't know if it's to be true, and I don't want to go too far down the lane, but just to kind of describe what just to talk about what you're describing, and that there's a sexual problem, and that is so many are thought to be homosexual, that of the players and the coaches that are in the WNBA, that people like Caitlin Clark, who are outwardly heterosexual, there seems to be everything from envy to I want to disturb her life because she's not one of us. And it's something that they definitely have to take a look at. I agree.
It would be wonderful just to sit down and have a glass of wine with Caitlin Clark and see how she really feels.
Yeah, it would. I have a feeling, I believe this because she's Catholic. If I got in touch with her agent and I could actually speak with her for even 5 minutes over the phone, I think I could, for lack of a better word, convince her to come on the show. I just don't think she would be forthright. And
she's got a lot to protect.
She does have a ton to protect.
She set a record last week, John, 40 points per game.
Did she really?
No players ever scored 40 points and like 13 assists. So she's, they need her more than she needs them.
Yeah, they need each other. That's for sure.
So where's the love? Where's the love?
Yeah. I know one thing. I don't know where the love is. I just know that they have a problem, as you mentioned, and they have to address it. I think it's ultimately going to hurt them because they're on this trajectory now of the greatest TV audience and live audiences that they've ever had. And if they don't address these problems they got
a leadership problem. They need a different commissioner, somebody that's.
I'm shocked she said that. I thought she would have said something like, "I have a cold." That would have sounded, even though it would have been, mired in excuse. Holy smokes, she says that.
She even admitted she didn't, in saying the PR department told me not to get on your show. She's admitting that they have a PR problem.
Yeah. Yep. Brother, last question. College football starts in literally about a month. It's just amazing when we say that. You can't wait. You can wait, but you still like it, or you don't really care much anymore. Where do you stand on that one? College football.
I think I stand in the same place. It's too early for football. I want to enjoy baseball. We'll have enough of football. This
you can wait. You can wait, basically. You like it, but you can wait.
I can wait. The NFL training camps are opening up. They they've been talking NFL for 24/7 every day of the year.
That's all they talk about.
You know, I can wait. It'll be here before you know it. I mean, we're getting towards the end of July now. I don't think it's any different than how I normally feel. It's just like, slow down.
Yeah. It'll be here before we know it. When you're old guys like you and I, it just comes upon us more quickly than you ever imagine. I still like it, but I don't like it as much. But I can wait. So it's
not
with
a big
all the
deal. NIL and all the kind of pay for play and all that kind of stuff. I got a guy in my Curcio group. He can't wait. I mean, he's
crazy about it.
School's T-shirt everywhere. He's all excited about it, and we won't put his name out there because everyone.
Tell me the school that just
Alabama.
Alabama. Yeah, there's the biggest fans there are. Hey, I'm going to shift gears, Ed. We only have a couple of minutes, but I wanted to mention, you and I didn't talk about this off air, but I find it interesting and ultimately good. ESPN Radio here in Charlotte went off the air. You must be privy to that, right?
Yeah, I saw that. I don't never listen to it.
Yeah, because they turned into 24/7 Gamble Radio. That's everything they talked about. If they're talking about the Open, if they're talking about the Masters, if they're talking about baseball, if they were talking about the college basketball tournament, they only talked about odds. They only talked about over and unders. That's all they talked about. I thought this was going to be their undoing, and boy, was it. They ran into financial problems and they went off the air. And it's for the first time since I got here in 2009.
Yeah, I know which frequency you're speaking of.
Yeah. And so I thought it was justice. I really do. I was like, you guys are taking sports down this lane. You're ESPN Radio. And I said this a couple shows ago. One of the reasons I can't believe that they've crossed over to this extent was it was just a couple years ago. They refused to talk about over and unders. They refused to talk about betting lines. And now they fully accepted it because they get a piece of the pie. Shame on them.
Yeah. And it's polluting their broadcast. Let's just use the word
that's
polluting.
A great word. I couldn't believe it. Every time I tuned in, I go, wait a minute. Okay, they're talking about the Masters. I remember a couple months ago, they were talking about the Masters, and I said, this is great. But within 30 seconds, they started going, well, he's good odds today because he didn't do so well yesterday. So the odds are 5-1. So it's much greater than it was yesterday at 2-1. I'm like, are you kidding me? You just got me into this conversation, and I immediately changed the station. I just went, and that's when I realized it's 24/7.
John, here's a homework assignment for our listeners.
Let's hear it.
Come to the show every week with the one gambling story of who got arrested, because it's out there every single week.
It's terrible.
Kawhi Leonard, coaches, players, every single week. Human beings are flawed. You keep pushing the evil things on people that have those addiction problems. You're going to have these pop up every week.
Oh yeah. It's I have a feeling that they are certainly any betting agency, any casino, ESPN, DraftKings, any of those people would not want to see it, but it's just a matter of time before major articles are published on the increase in gambling addiction.
Well, last week when you were putting the show together, I saw that you had bet on Carlos and I attending the show. So I said, I got to make sure he wins this bet.
So before we go, we were talking about old guys hanging on in the world of sport when they don't really maybe have any gas left in their tank. Justin Verlander, great Tigers pitcher. I pitched for other people.
Andrew McCutchen is playing in the minor leagues for the Atlanta Braves.
Is he really?
Yeah, the Texas Rangers cut him.
Longtime Pittsburgh Pirate.
Yeah. Pittsburgh could have signed him as a coach or something. He doesn't want to give it up. Maybe we need a senior league for baseball.
kind of like the senior tour in the PGA. But, Ed, the reason I get it, and I mean this, McCutchen's probably how old? 38, right? He's probably 38. Okay, he's 39 years old. Ed, does he have more money than he would ever need, right? Okay, he has tens of millions of dollars in the bank. I am sure he looks in the mirror and says, what am I going to do? So if I can play baseball for another year, I'm just going to do it. I really don't blame people. And part of the reason I don't blame it, in fact, this is a big part of it. I played rugby, competitive, high level rugby until I was 40 years old. And I remember I started to get hurt more and more as I got toward my 40th birthday. But I remember thinking, I have the rest of my life to sit on the sidelines of a sport like rugby. I'm just going to go until I run out of gas. And at 40, I just ran out of gas. So I kind of get it. But remember, the old saying is nobody else has to tell you that you're done. The sport will tell you you're done, right? Because you can't compete at the level you once were at.
For a lot of our folks that are listening to Faith in Sport, some of you still hold down full-time careers. When you retire, you got to retire to something.
That's right.
You got to retire. You got to have a plan in place. You're just not going to sit on a couch and listen to Faith in Sport all day.
Ed, would that be a bad thing for these people to listen to Faith in Sport after Faith in Sport episode? Come on, brother.
What, Dr. Acquaviva, you're going to learn a lot.
I tell you, you can. Brother, listen, we've run out of time for this segment of the show. I want to thank you for everything that you do for St. Matthew, your church. I want to thank you for everything you do for this show, brother. You always come prepared. You're a great conversationalist. I appreciate the heck out of you, brother. You have a good day.
Tell Carlos I said hello, and I'll be listening.
You got it, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Bye-bye.
There you go, folks. Ed Billick. Folks, you're listening to Faith in Sport here on Radio Maria. I'm Dr. John Acquaviva. This is where we apply our faith to all aspects of sport. So if you're a first-time listener, this is one of the first times that you have listened, it's pretty clear the direction of this show. We want to talk about sport, but through the lens of character, morality, and ethics. And this show is meant for the athlete, for the coach, for the referee, for the parent of the athlete, the grandparent of the athlete, and the fan of any sports team. We try to weave all that stuff into each and every show. Listen, hang with us. We mentioned Carlos Herrera a couple times. He is our soccer insider here on Faith in Sport. Just hang with this break from Radio Maria. We'll be right back with more Faith in Sport.
Imagine that you just tuned into Radio Maria and heard nothing. No Angelus, no Holy Rosary with various bishops, no Beyond Fatima with Katie Moran, and so many others who announce the good news of Jesus Christ to the world, who bring hope through the knowledge of His mercy, forgiveness, and love. You can help Radio Maria by offering your prayers and making a monthly donation by clicking on the Donations tab at radiomaria.us. That's radiomaria.us, where you can donate by phone at the number listed, by mail to the address listed, or securely online. Thank you for your generosity. Through the intercession of our Blessed Virgin Mary, may God continue to bless you.
You're listening to Radio Maria, a private initiative within the Roman Catholic Church. Established in 1987, Radio Maria is an instrument of the new evangelization and is supported by volunteer presenters such as the lively Christine Rossi, host of A Light in the World.
Hi, this is Christine Rossi, host of A Light in the World here on Radio Maria. Join us every Wednesday from 2 to 3 Central Time for an hour of encouragement.
Catch Christine Rossi and all our live presenters every day on Radio Maria, a Christian voice in your home.
Are you feeling like you missed out on an enlightening conversation? Longing to revisit those soul-enriching moments? Tune in to the heartwarming wisdom and insights you love by visiting our website at radiomaria.us. Whether it's a missed episode or a desire to relive a past show, our website has you covered. Simply log into radiomaria.us and click on the podcast tab, and you will be on your way. Don't let those wonderful moments slip away. Visit radiomaria.us today and never miss out on your favorite shows again.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Faith in Sport. I'm Dr. John Acquaviva. Thank you for joining us wherever, whenever, and however you are joining us. Joining us in just a couple seconds is Carlos Herrera, certified soccer coach, longtime guest of the show, longtime friend of mine, and soccer insider aficionado. He's going to join us in just a few seconds. I wanted to pass along to you guys, though. Listen, if there's a topic that you want us to stay away from, or you want us to talk about, or you have a suggestion of some sort for the show, I want to hear from you. Email me at faithandsport at wingate.edu. Wingate University is where I teach exercise science, but the address is Faith and Sport, A-N-D, Faith and Sport at wingate.edu. So in the first part of the show, we talked about Carlos. A couple of weeks ago, we talked with Carlos because we were right in the middle of the World Cup, but I insisted that he come back because this past weekend was the final between Argentina and Spain. There's so much to talk about in the World Cup. There's so much to talk about in the semifinal matches, and especially this match between Argentina and Spain. So I pleaded with Carlos to come back. So here he is, back to the show. Carlos, brother, welcome to Faith and Sport. How you doing today?
Doing fantastic, John. Great to be on. Great to talk to you again. Great to talk about soccer.
Yes. No, this is why you're here. What's your initial thoughts? Do you want to talk about the World Cup in general? You want to talk about the American team? Do you want to talk about Messi, Argentina, Spain? What do you want to talk about?
I think there's so many things to talk about. One of them is just this. I mean, there's so many themes, right? One of them is how a country who was kind of not a very, to use the term, sort of exciting brand of soccer, Spain, ends up kind of coming through and winning it against a team like Argentina with these tremendous comebacks and Messi and all this stuff. And even though there's some star power on Spain with their young 19-year-old Lamine Yamal, he essentially is just a teenager, a young guy, and he underperformed. It was a team effort, and there's a lot to be said there. So I think we can talk about that. We can talk about some of the statistics that have happened in the game, the World Cup, this particular match on Sunday, and then some of the other games and themes that we can talk about.
Very good. So I think that wouldn't be a bad idea to talk about Sunday's final. I'm going to give some commentary on that, and then I'd like you to kind of bounce some stuff off of that. But the thing that stood out to me was it reminded me of Italy's team about 20 years ago, in which they had this tenacious defense and the other team had really difficult time kind of setting up. They would constantly frustrate them and kick the ball away. And I thought Spain did that. And what really did themselves in was when they got that red card, the second yellow card on the same player. And that ensured that the game was going to be controlled by Spain. I would have gone into shock if Sunday's game would have gone into penalty kicks. That would have favored, if anybody, probably Argentina, but it didn't go that far. They scored a goal late, did Spain. I thought the better team won, and I thought the more deserving team won. I thought that Argentina played somewhat dirty, but I'm just going to put that out there. What's your thought in general of the defense in the finals, the second half in particular?
So 100% agree with you on what you just stated. There's some records. So here's some records for you to and your listeners to consider about Spain. So this is the first time a team in a World Cup match, particularly the final, holds another team to 0 shots
on goal
in the first 90 minutes of a full game, and then into extra time at 120 minutes was the first shot.
That's amazing.
No other team's ever done that. Okay. There are 38 games that without a defeat that Spain has. In the games they've played, they are undefeated 38 games in a row.
Wow.
Okay. That's a record. The other one is fewest goals conceded in a World Cup.
How many?
The record was Spain, I think, with one other country, Germany, in 2010. They allowed 2 goals in the whole World Cup. This World Cup, they only allowed 1 goal.
No way. I didn't even think of that. They didn't say that yesterday. That's amazing.
Oh, so what's happening is a lot of statistics are coming out because people are analyzing it. Okay.
Of course.
The Spain never trailed in the World Cup. This World Cup, not once in the whole World Cup.
Interesting.
4 other teams have done it, but that's still unbelievable. The Argentinian goalkeeper made more saves than the Spanish goal in the World Final game, in the final World Cup game, than the Spain goalkeeper the whole World Cup.
That's That's the best stat you've shared with us. Say that again.
The Argentinian goalkeeper made more saves in that World Cup game than the Spanish goalkeeper had to do the whole World Cup.
Okay, now Carlos, let's just put something in perspective, because they could have seen this stat yesterday, some of the people that are listening to the show, but I want to put it in perspective and give a little explanation. There are what are called shots on target and then shots on goal. So yesterday's only shot on target was by Lionel Messi, in which he kicked the ball, but about 8 feet away, he struck the Spain defensive player right in the forehead. So basically what they're saying is, if he wasn't there, it would have had to been stopped by the goalie. And if it's stopped by the goalie and has a chance to go in, that's counted as a shot on goal. So there's shots on target and shots on goal. And Lionel Messi and company, this great franchise and great team, deserving to even win that game with their talent, only had one shot on target, and that happened in the last 5 minutes of the game. In the
5 minutes of the game,
right?
In the extra time, last 5 minutes.
It's amazing.
The juxtaposition between Argentina and the way they've been playing is they were losing in multiple games in this World Cup, and at the last 5 minutes, they came back, scored 1 or 2 goals to basically win.
That's right.
And
each time
you had this feeling that might happen again, and the Argentinian fans were just on the edge of their seats, and the Spanish fans were also on the edge of their seats going, this might happen. This might happen.
Right.
Messi might come through.
They're in fear, yeah.
And the whole shots on goal, I was explaining this because they were asking me this where I was watching the game, and they were saying, I don't understand that. And they're like, well, one guy had a shot, probably one of the best shots he had towards the end in the last 5 minutes, where he hits this ball and he hits it like 7 or 8 feet above the goal. And I said, and they're like, isn't that a shot on goal? I go, well, he was trying to shoot on goal, but that wasn't going to even have a chance of going in. It has to be
stopped by the goalie, yeah.
It's unbelievable. It's truly
it was great.
An unbelievable game.
It was unbelievable. Folks, if you're just joining us, I'm Dr. John Acquaviva. You're listening to Faith in Sport here on Radio Maria. It's a co-production of WCAT Radio. Soccer insider Carlos Herrera, certified soccer coach, has joined us for the day. Faith in Sport, the show that may or may not make a difference in your life. We're talking about, needless to say, the World Cup. I figured you'd like that. We're talking about the World Cup in particular, the world of soccer, the world of pro soccer. I want to make 2 comments, and then you can bounce off this as well. I thought there was a major good and a major bad from yesterday's game and in general. But I noticed the further that Argentina went in this tournament, the more dirty they played. And in particular, Carlos, they would, when the ball was away from their opponent, they would push them, they would shove them. And it was a little bit of intimidation factor. It was a little bit of, I'm trying to hurt you a little bit. And maybe with multiple pushes, you go down, you get hurt, or multiple pushes, I kind of make you sore or make it more difficult, or I take you out of your game psychologically. I thought that was bad. I thought the referee should have stopped that very early on. But I contend with this, Carlos. Teams tend to play more dirty the more fear they have of losing the game when they know they're not as good. They know they're not as good as that opponent. What say you on the whole thing? You saw these pushes and shoves?
When you're watching, and when France was playing Uruguay, okay, or Paraguay, it was Paraguay. When they were playing Paraguay, France was outplaying Paraguay. And Paraguay resorted to really heavy tackles, very physical, overly physical, pushing, shoving, and that commonly when, and it's sort of the way it's described is if you can't play to the same level that the other team can, then you do whatever you can to win.
Revert to out of bounds,
And they do this. Messi's career is full of when he dribbles by people in finesse, the way other people go, I can't stop him, but I can foul him. And that will stop him, right? And so Argentina as a whole, I was unimpressed with how Argentina was playing through multiple games where they almost lost because they just weren't playing well. But one of the things you did notice is that whenever there was a foul, multiple players from Argentina would run to the referee, right? Yeah. And there was a constant, it was almost like we deserved to win. And the calls are not going our way, and so we're going to try to influence the game.
That's
and
right. I
in
like
the World
influence.
Cup, the announcers, I've seen ESPN, I've seen all of them talk about Spain's brilliance, and then they talk about Argentina's exposure, how terrible their sportsmanship was, their quality of soccer. And several of them have said that was an embarrassing display for the world to see on a World Cup final match.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that. And so it's not just me, it's not just you. It's been there's been national outrage, if I can use that term. But I would like to know, and clearly, Carlos, in a conversation, I think it'd be a surprise if the coach, for instance, or any of the coaching staff of Argentina would admit to that. But I think in the depths of their heart, they either did they did one of two things. They encouraged it somehow, or they did not discourage it when it actually happened. And it happened a lot. And it happened more as the game went on, when they realized they were not in control of that game. Spain was in total control of that game. Do you remember seeing a stat? It was something like, and I'm paraphrasing the stat a little bit, but it was something like Spain made over 800 passes to Argentina's 350. So they controlled the ball so much more, about 3 times as much as the time. And when that happens, you have to revert to influencing the referee and or fouling. And I'm glad you brought up that word, because it wasn't sportsmanlike. And I will end with this part of the conversation before I hand it back to you, that just because the referee doesn't call it doesn't mean it's not against the rules or it's in bad character. Agreed?
100% agree.
Brother, let's talk about some of the positives, and then I want to talk about Lionel Messi. Yesterday, both teams, I think, were at their best when it came to playing under pressure. But what I want to point out to the novice fan listening to this show, and I tried to mention this a couple of weeks ago when we had our show then, and that was the goal scoring is great. The teamwork is fantastic, but the individual passes that are made is astounding. And if you watch games like Sunday's game, just for the level of skill that is involved to pass the way they do, the accuracy, the pressure, the spin they put on it, so it goes around the defender, but yet still goes to their teammate, I thought was so impressive. What say you, brother? What impressed you most that is a good thing?
Spain, well, several things. Spain's passing, their possession was 65% of the game. And when Spain has possession, they're moving it around the back and switching it from side to side. If you're down a man, right, and you're trying to, win, you need to go take the ball away, right? And so you expand more energy chasing the game, and that opens you up for possible counterattacks, right? The player that got the red card, his name was Leonardo Paredes. The announcer said that he was substituted in because of an injury, but that he's more of a physical player, right? And they said
code word for
the enforcer, right?
Yes,
like in hockey.
In hockey. That's right.
100%, right? You can't beat him in finesse. Send in your bruisers. Your thug. Yeah. And so, but you could see when the U.S. lost their game, right? Their passing was terrible. Like you could, you and I were watching the game. We were like, it's awful. They cannot maintain possession.
That's right.
Right.
Right from the start.
France, when they lost their game, they could not pass the ball. And it was amazing to watch because France is very talented.
Extremely.
And Argentina the same, right? So you could almost say like Argentina did not have a good day, right? And people talk about that. Well, you caught them on an off day. They weren't playing. They just did not play as a team well, right?
And you have to give credit to the defense and the skill and the coaching of Spain. Brother, I was talking about, and we were talking about as if there was no justice in the lack of character and the poor sportsmanship on part of Argentina. But I think if you and I were talking to that referee, that head referee in Sunday's game, he would say, no, justice was served. As soon as you yellow card somebody twice, that equals a red card and they're off. And created an incredible imbalance in possession, and that imbalance in possession led to a goal for Spain. Justice was served. He may not have given a penalty or allowed for a penalty kick when maybe it called for it, but he did kill him through a lot of what's the term? Rather than making one big issue, what he did was he pulled out that second yellow card to equal a red card. They were down a player, and that's right. It was death by 1,000 pinpricks. They eventually just beat him because they were down a guy. And I thought the better team won, and they deserved to win, no doubt.
So the soccer, the guys who played, the professionals who were calling the game and commenting on the game, and you mentioned at the beginning of the show, you said soccer won today. And what that really means is that the deserving team that plays soccer the way soccer, should be played, or the purest form, deserve to win, versus like going into penalty kicks at the end and really the luckiest team wins, right? And that's not necessarily the best team. And that player, Leonardo Paredes, his second yellow was after there was an incident. It wasn't even like in the matter of play. He pushed a guy out of anger or whatever.
That's right.
And he's the one that caused him to go down by one player. His action. And quite frankly, I think at the end of the game, he assaulted another guy, I think, and ended up getting another red card suspension because it was, and why a lot of the announcers say their behavior and their sportsmanship, and your show is about faith in sport, like the lack of sportsmanship from these professionals. It was like almost like we're the ones that are supposed to win, like total entitlement.
That's right.
Like young kids.
That's right.
Other than I think Messi.
They did a bad service to little kids watching. That's a good point. I want to switch gears. In the beginning of the show, I mentioned that we were going to do stat of the day. And I want to give the floor back to you because I know you want to talk in the last few minutes about Lionel Messi, at least for some of those final minutes. But listen to this stat of the day. In 1982, the winner of the World Cup got $2.2 million. The winner. So it was from a pool of about $10 million total. The winner got $2.2 million. The winner yesterday, Carlos, you have any idea how much Spain got this past weekend?
I wanted to look it up, but I didn't.
50 million, 50. They got 50 million. The United States team alone earned, I think, 15 million. Isn't that amazing how much the finances of a professional sport, in particular soccer, have progressed over the last 40 years? 40 years later, they go from 2.2 million to 50 million. Now, this is a great lead-in from our previous conversation. I thought one of the few players for Argentina that did not succumb to the frustration that the Spain team was better, that did not succumb to the fact that they possessed the 2/3 of all of the possession of the ball, did Spain, was Lionel Messi. Still can hang his head high, his chin up, because I thought he played with good character. I thought he played as he always does, and that he is easy to watch. He is good to watch. And I think overall his character as a person plays out on the field. What say you about Lionel Messi?
100%. I think it's interesting when people would ask me who you're rooting for, right? I would say I want Spain, but I also want Messi to win. Right.
That's a great way to say it. Yeah.
Multiple people said, I want Argentina to win because of Messi.
Messi, yeah.
Right. And Messi's he's the greatest player of all time.
No question in my mind.
Bar none. Anymore. You can't even have that argument.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
And he was one of, I think, two players that hugged the Spanish team after they won.
He did.
The Spanish players were coming up to him, and he was willing to hug them and say goodbye. The majority of the Argentinian players, or all of them except two, didn't do any of that.
They didn't congratulate them or even a handshake.
No, yeah, that's what I heard. That's what I heard. So to me, there is something, and there's so you have the stat of the day, which is great. Have you seen the online sort of photo of Messi at 20 years old with a basket with an infant in it.
Yeah, and I know who that baby was. Yeah, who was taking a bath.
Lamine Yamal.
How did that come to? I have no idea how that.
Okay, so this is the stat of the day, right? Because we can geek out on soccer stats and all this, but this is just an amazing stat. Okay, so 20 years ago, Barcelona, and he's playing in Barcelona. He's only 20 years old, right? They go and do some event, and so they have some PR event. UNICEF is having some event, and they have like thousands of families, and it was a draw. They would pull a name out of a hat, and that person would hold a particular baby, right? That was also random out of the 1,000 players because there's only like 22 players on a team.
These pro soccer players agreed to show up at this like benefit and then UNICEF do a picture event with these. Yeah, okay.
So it's completely random on both sides, and Messi's name gets pulled, and Lamine Yamal gets pulled, and they take a photo.
Amazing.
Okay. The fact that they end up in the World Cup final
against each other. Yeah,
to play against each other.
Yeah,
like
it's amazing.
And it's like Lamine Yamal's first World Cup, and it's like Messi's last World Cup.
Yeah.
They said that for all that to work out, for the kid to make the team, the national team, to actually play, for Spain to actually get in, and Argentina. So this guy runs the numbers. Okay, what do you think the odds are for something like this to happen?
1 in 200 million.
Okay.
What is it?
1 in 625 trillion. Trillion.
If you would have said million, I would have bragged that I was close. I know, that's amazing. So, Carlos, yesterday or on Saturday, the day before the game, I'm working out at the YMCA, but I didn't have my headphones, right? I didn't have my little ear pods. And I saw that there was a picture of Lionel Messi as a young man next to a kid that's taking a bath, this little infant baby. And then they indicated that this little kid was, say his name again?
Lamine Yamal.
Lamine Yamal.
Yes.
Lamine Yamal. And I was like, no, this is AI, but it wasn't. It wasn't at all.
I thought it was, when I first saw it, I thought it was AI. And then some news guy put it on, and he literally asked his guys, has this been vetted? Is this this real?
Exactly.
And so they came up. So listen, it is 2 million times more likely to win the Powerball jackpot than for this to have happened. It's also, here's another way of looking at it. It is more likely it's like you picking out one specific second out of 20 million years. 1 second for you to put your finger on that and go, let's go with that. And then,
that's funny.
And that kind of brings me to kind of like the bigger aspect of this, right? From our perspective of faith and sport. I was joking around with the people I was watching, and I said, who do you think God wants to win?
Yes.
Yeah. I said, who do you think God wants to win? Sort of jokingly, and they kind of all laughed, kind of like, what are you talking about? And to me, like, I see the story of Messi is it's one message of God. But the story of a team playing together like a team and playing in the way they did, like, God wins in this one, right? As well. Like, his hand, like, it's just beautiful. And there's a lot more to talk about Messi, so we can get to that.
No,
if we have time.
The final note on Messi is, it is, I think, really easy to be generous when you have a lot of money. I think it is it's very easy to be humble when you win a lot. But I thought, even in the midst of losing, and you know what I mean by this, and the people that they followed our conversation for the last 20 minutes know what I mean, he was generous, he was of character, and he displayed the morality and character that he probably wishes he could, because he did not get his way yesterday. And when somebody that's rich and famous and great doesn't get their way, often their true colors show. And I thought he was a gentleman, and I thought he displayed great character throughout. And despite what his teammates did, I thought he stood out as being particularly ethical and moral. So, folks, that's it for today's show. Carlos, brother, thank you so much for doing this. You lended us some great insight. on this World Cup. And I'm sorry it's come to a close. And I thought ultimately it ended well, even though there was a lot of kind of character and ethics related conversation as part of the final this past Sunday. But still, I think overall, the American in North America won and soccer won overall. Agreed?
100% agree.
God
Thank
bless
you
you,
for
brother.
having me on the show, John. Always a pleasure.
Same here, buddy. Folks, I'm going to end, as I always do, with a quote from a pope. Pope Leo, our current Pope the 14th, said, "Athletes who never make mistakes, who never lose, do not exist. Champions are not perfectly functioning machines, but real men and women who, when they fall, find the courage to get back on their feet." Our current Pope, huge Chicago White Sox fan, Leo the 14th, said that. Before we go, a special thank you to Ed Billick and Carlos Herrera for joining me on the show today. I'm Dr. John Acquaviva. Please join us here next time on Radio Maria and WCAT Radio for more faith and sport. And as always, St. Sebastian, patron saint of athletes, pray for us.
Thank you so much for listening to the Radio Maria podcasts. It's thanks to listeners like you who donate that enable us to continue delivering quality content to listeners around the world. If you'd like to contribute and help us keep spreading the message of Our Lady's Son, please consider making a donation. You can reach us at 888-408-0201 or simply visit our donations tab on our website at radiomaria.us. Your generosity truly makes a difference. This has been a Radio Maria production.